Hi friends! If you've followed me at all, you may know that one of my favorite ways to make stage or historical costumes is to repurpose thrifted items. I love to do that because it saves money, but also because it lessens the environmental impact that you would get from, say, buying new ready-to-wear items to alter or new fabric to make a new garment. Even though I am by no means an expert, one of the big reasons I wanted to create my YouTube channel was to share little tips and tricks I've learned on my costuming journey. So when I heard about Costube Symposium this year and decided to participate, I immediately knew that I wanted to do a little quick tips video specifically about recycling in costuming. The biggest thing I've learned is that there are two main ways to approach thrifting with the intention of repurposing what you buy. You should either go into the store with a clear idea of exactly what you are looking to buy, or you should do the complete exact opposite and go in with no real plan and search through everything and let what you find speak to you and inspire you. For the first approach, I like to keep a list on my phone of what my project plans for the next year or so are and what I need for those projects. That looks like this. I keep what material I'm looking for, what color I'm looking for, and what specific garment it is for. I keep it on my phone because I always carry it with me, so if I ever have time to swing by a thrift store, I can just pull out my list, look at what I'm looking for, and then I'll know what departments are likely to have what I need, and this helps keep my projects organized and keeps me focused, so I can just get in and get out and find what I need. This approach is nice because when you have such long plans, for the next, like I said, year or so, you don't have to buy the first thing you find. If you don't love it, you can say, I'll come back to it later. For the second strategy, I'll usually pick one project at a time, and I'll do it when I have a little bit more time to really look through everything that the thrift store has. I'll think to myself, okay, this time I want something vaguely late Victorian, so I'll keep an eye out for things that would fit that, like tweed or a big wool sweater I can alter, or a straw hat that I can take apart and reconstruct. But if I happen to find a big boxy dress that would work for 1920s with a little bit of work while I'm at it, maybe I'll grab that too. This approach works better when you have more time to really look through stuff. For this approach, I like to have inspiration boards on Pinterest of things that I know I like and eras that I know I like, so that when I get to the thrift store, I can just search through and kind of have these ideas fresh in my mind. It's also helpful to watch other videos on thrift flips or blogs about refashioning, which is what we called it in ye olden days of the internet when I first got into costuming, to kind of get a sense of the different ways that you could possibly change a garment. Because I like to think that I'm creative, but I know that I will never come up with every single way you can alter a garment ever, and seeing other people's creativity can really help spark your own. When I go to the thrift store, there's a list of things that I always keep an eye out for. So some of those are things that are practically fabric yardage already, like sheets or duvet covers or curtains. They're things that could easily be scavenged from pre-existing garments like boning or leather from purses or neat buttons or pretty lace or ribbon, things like that. I keep an eye out for things with a good fabric content like wool or silk that would be expensive to buy. And I always keep an eye out for things that have good prints for different time periods. I also always check hats. Hats are a really easy thing to clean and redecorate, or if they're straw, take apart and reshape completely. So there are really a lot of things you can find in the thrift store that can be useful in costuming if you just know what to keep an eye out for. When you're looking to buy something for a specific project, it's really easy to get swept up in the fact that you actually found something that it's hard to take a step back and think about, will this really work before you buy it? So I have a checklist of things that I always run through to make sure it'll work out before I make a purchase. First, is the print appropriate, or at least close enough for me, for whatever time period I'm working on? Is the fabric in good shape? Is there pills? Is it threadbare and falling apart? Things like that. How is the color? Not only is it the color that I want, but especially things of frequent use like sheets or things that sit in the sun like curtains. Are there any faded spots or stains? And if there is a tag on the item, I like to check for fiber content, or if there's not a tag, just kind of go by look and feel and see if it'll be appropriate. At the thrift store near me, there are these gorgeous curtains that would make a lovely dress, but they are 100% polyester. So if I was going to be making them for a photo shoot or something, great, they would look wonderful. But if I wanted to make a dress for my local Renaissance fair, where I know I'm going to be baking in the hot sun all day, the polyester would really start to become a hurdle because I would be sweltering. So not only do you need to look for if the things look right for your project, but if the fabric content will suit your project as well. Now, I say all the time, I always talk up using sheets in costuming. And I'm sure you have heard it other places as well. So I thought it would just be helpful if I shared a few things that I've learned over the course of sewing with sheets. I love sewing with sheets. I use them all the time, but there are a few things to keep an eye out for. First, sheets are really good to use for mock-up fabric for lighter weight garments because they're cheap and the fabric is plentiful. However, something that I have noticed is that a lot of sheets, not all of them, but a lot of sheets have more bias stretch than you would kind of expect from your typical cotton woven fabric. So if you're using them to make a mock-up and you spend all this time making a mock-up and then you cut out your fashion fabric and suddenly it doesn't fit anymore because the bias stretched in certain ways that it isn't on your fashion fabric, you're going to be really upset. So if you are going to use sheets for mock-up, before you begin, just check the bias stretch. If you are going to use your sheets as your fashion fabric, there's a couple things to keep in mind. First, sheets with prints are probably going to be directional. So when you're kind of doing your math to see if your project will fit on this sheet, keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that sheets are not continuous yardage. So you can't just say, oh, the pattern calls for this many yards and the math works out that a sheet is this many yards. You may need to get kind of creative with your cutting layout, which is kind of nice when you're doing a historical recreation because piecing is period. So just keep in mind that the pattern layout you use for your pattern pieces may not be exactly the same as the layout that they give you in your commercial pattern. So I found a handy dandy chart that had the average sizes of flat sheets. So I have done the math to figure them out two ways, if your print is directional this way or if it's directional this way. So for the average twin flat, which is 96 inches by 66 inches, for a 45-inch width of fabric, you get about 2 3/8 of a yard plus this extra strip of 21 inches wide. I chose 45 inches wide because that does tend to be a kind of common width of fabric. So if your fabric differs from that, obviously this won't work for you, but it can still help give you a general idea. If your fabric is directional horizontally, you will have about 3 5/8 yard plus this little strip extra of 6 inches here in the middle. For the average queen, it is 102 inches by 90 inches, and it's an even 45-45 split if it's directional this way, so you will have about 5 5/8 yard. If it's horizontal, you'll have 5 yards plus this little strip of 12 inches wide here. For king, they're usually 102 inches by 108 inches. So you will have two 45-inch strips that equal 5 5/8 yard plus this extra strip of 18 inches in the middle. And then if you go the opposite direction, you have two 45-inch strips that equal 6 yards plus 12 inches in the middle. So quite a bit of fabric you can get out of a king-sized sheet. And there is also the seam allowances to take into account. So if you opened those up, you could get a couple extra inches of fabric from there as well. Lastly, after you've thrifted something, make sure you wash it before using it. Yes, to make it clean for being clean's sake, but also maybe the previous owner never washed it. So if you take this apart and remake it into something new and you wear it once and you wash it and suddenly it shrinks, you're going to be kind of upset that you put work into this project that no longer fits you. So just pre-wash everything the way you will wash it in the future, and that will save you a lot of heartache. I hope this video has been helpful to you, especially the sheet yardage conversion, because that's something I wondered about for a really long time. And having that available instead of having to do it in your head every time you find a sheet, I think would be kind of helpful. So I hope it was helpful for you. If you make any cool recycled costumes, please tag me in them, because like I said, I love to see others' creativity. I think creativity can really be a community where one person's creativity uplifts another. There are some other thrifting and refashioning videos made by some really awesome content creators on the CoSy schedule. So if you've enjoyed this video, I highly recommend checking out the schedule and the other creators that you can find there. If you want to see more content from me during CoSy, I will be participating in a panel on recycling and costuming. I'll be in a really fun video about different sewing translations in different languages. I will be participating in a fantasy-bounding fashion runway show where all of the looks are created from recycled or thrifted items. And then I will be releasing a video about how I created my look. So I will link all of those below as they are released in case you are interested. And before I go, there is a badge for this video. Happy Costube Symposium weekend. I will link a big playlist to all of the CoSy videos below so you can check those out. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, friends.